Hey, welcome to the Disability Law Show once again. John Scholes here alongside Sivan Tumarkin, Samfiru Tumarkin, LLP. I want to reach out to Sivan and his team anytime. Right off the top, I'm going to give you the number. It's going to be 1-855-821-5900, help@disabilityrights.ca for email. And we'll give you some more websites throughout the show that you can use to reach out and benefit as far as teaching yourself more about the disability laws and the coverage you may or may not have, or dealing with an insurance company overall. So we'll get to that as we continue on. The main topic for today, applying for LTD because of fibromyalgia. That is on the way. We'll get to some emails and some other things. But Savannah, we always start off, pal, with the week that was, something you've been working on. What do you got for us?
John, I had a very interesting email and call earlier this week, and I wanted to share it with our viewers. So, you know, we have offices in Ontario, BC, and Alberta, and we help people deal with their long-term disability denials, dealing with their insurance companies. But we also have people across the country reaching out to us, and we can help anyone across the country, with the exception of Quebec, who has issues with their long-term disability insurance company because the laws are fairly similar. Right. And so, unbeknownst to me, someone in Manitoba actually watched our show. I guess they streamed it or whatever. And they have a long-term disability case that's been ongoing for about 7 years now. 7 years. We'll get to that in a second. And the person who contacted me wasn't the individual. It was the law firm, the lawyer that's in charge of that file. Now, that lawyer who's in charge of that file, we arranged to speak. And I told him, I'm not going to charge you anything, because he wanted to actually pay me to give him advice on how to handle that long-term disability claim on behalf of his client. Now, this lawyer inherited that file from another lawyer in his office. I said to him, I'm not going to charge you a thing. This is one of the things that we do here. We give this information, whether I give it to the public at large, or whether to doctors, or whether to other lawyers who are helping their clients. I'm here to give this information so that we can even that playing field with insurance companies. So let me give you some specifics without too much specificity, right? I don't want to identify the person. But so this claim has been going on for years, 7 years. And this person has been off work because of a variety of issues. That person was initially approved for long-term disability by one of the largest insurance companies in the country. At some point, the insurance company cut him off, saying, you're no longer disabled according to us. Okay. We don't believe you're disabled. Insufficient medical documentation. Our doctors believe that you're not disabled, etc. Keep in mind, this person has also been approved for CPP disability. All right, we're going to get into that as well. Yep. Again, the government of Canada has confirmed that this person has a serious and permanent impairment and is unable to work, a prolonged and serious impairment. So I explained to this lawyer everything that needs to be done. It was interesting to hear him talk and to ask me the questions that he did, because it was very clear to me that this was not his area of expertise. And I said to him, look, if at any point down the road you need any help, or if I can be of assistance, if I can guide you in any way, please, my goal here, and again, I'm not charging a thing, is to help you help your client. He was extremely thankful. And again, this lawyer was from a different province altogether, but the laws are essentially the same. And the lesson here, so there's several lessons actually. Number one, any claim that is going on for 6 years, a long-term disability claim, something is going wrong.
That's crazy.
We resolve these kinds of claims in our office within anywhere from a few weeks up to a year max. Are there exceptions? Of course there are, just like in any field. But generally speaking, 6 months to a year is generally the sweet spot for us to be able to resolve claims. Why? Because we don't sit on these claims. We know what we're doing. We know how to push insurance companies really to the brink, to come to the table and resolve our client's case equitably, correctly, and to pay our clients what they're owed. The second thing that I want to mention here is this. That lawyer was great to deal with. He was very receptive to what I was saying. But, you know, if I had a long-term disability issue, I would go to someone who specializes in long-term disability. If I had a criminal law issue, I would go to a criminal lawyer, someone that only does criminal law. Same thing with family law, immigration law, medical malpractice law. You want to go to people who have expertise, specific expertise in that area. And you want to do that for several reasons. Number one, you know that the person you're going to knows what they're doing. They have experience. Number two, in the context of long-term disability, you want insurance companies to know who is representing you, because that's going to go a long way in helping resolve your claim. And number three, really, really important here, you want to maximize the amount of money that you are getting at the end of the day under the law. And remember, John, I used to work for insurance companies in the past. I remember dealing with these kinds of claims, defending insurance companies many, many years ago, and knowing that with some lawyers, I could easily get my client, the insurance company, to pay 10 cents on the dollar to solve the case, to resolve the case. Whereas with other lawyers who I knew were at the top of the game, and you couldn't get around them. They knew what they were doing. They had the resources to go all the way. We had to pay 150 cents on the dollar. So who you hire to deal with the insurance company makes a huge difference in terms of how much money you're going to end up with. Really, really important. Very, very interesting situation.
With this particular lawyer, what tripped him up most of all? Was it the whole CPP thing he didn't understand? Or
no, it was actually a different technical question. The individual saw me on TV, saw me talk about something. It wasn't really what he thought that I said, but nonetheless, it prompted that lawyer to reach out to me to just get clarification. And when we finished the conversation, it was about half an hour conversation. At the end of, after listening to this lawyer speak, and I knew that the lawyer, again, good guy, I think probably has expertise in other areas, but not in this particular area. And my gut sense was that he didn't really fully understand the value of the case or how to litigate the case. And the first thing I said to him after listening to him is, your client has a very good case. The insurance company is going to pay here. It's only a question of how much they're going to pay and how quickly they're going to pay. And that's really the key. And he was a bit surprised by that because he didn't really know how to analyze the case. So what tripped him? It wasn't one thing specific. It was the fact that it wasn't his field. If somebody came to me and asked me about family law, I can do some research, I can navigate the law, but I'm not going to be able to tell you, do you have a good case or not, because I haven't done it for 20 years. Long-term disability, personal injury, it's very different. This is what I do. And I've done it on behalf of the insurance companies as well. So again, really, really important here. And by the way, for any lawyers out there, I'll put this out there, I'm more than happy to speak to anyone who wants to contact me about cases they have with the permission of their clients. I will charge nothing for that. If I can help a lawyer help their client, I'm more than happy to do that.
So what was going on for 6 years?
Nothing.
Right. Seriously?
But here's the, so nothing was going on except for the insurance company. Think about this for a second. Let's say the insurance company has to pay this guy $500,000 at the end of the, at the end of the case. I'm just throwing a number. How much money did they save or make on that $500,000? All those 6 years or 7 years or however long it's going to take to resolve this on interest payments or in investing this money, internally for the insurance company. So the fact that they were able to delay payment and are able to delay payment, to me, that is the benefit to the insurance company. Not to mention, by the way, that had this lawyer not talked to me, maybe instead of $500,000, he'd be able to get his client $200,000.
Yeah.
So, why is it taking so long? Because lawyers typically move like snails. And insurance companies are more than happy to entertain that and to not pay anything ever.
Well, I think, like you said, we've often said on the show, if you need, eye surgery, go to an ophthalmologist, not, ear, nose, and throat, or a guy who does knee surgery. They're both surgeons, they're both doctors, but different. So
you're right. So the expertise is one thing. The other thing is, I think, is very different about our law firm than many other law firms, not just in the long-term disability context or personal injury, but on the employment side as well, right? We help people with employment issues. We don't sit on files. And in fact, whenever we have a lawyer on our team where we find out that there is an issue where the matter is not progressing the way it should, that it's just sitting on the shelf collecting dust, that lawyer gets in big trouble from myself, Lior, and the other senior lawyers. For a very simple reason. It's not our case. It's our client's case. Many of these individuals have no money coming in. It is infuriating to me when I hear of cases where for absolutely no good reason, the case is just getting stale and stale and stale. The lawyer is not doing anything. This is not, 100 years ago when to communicate with the opposing lawyer, you'd have to send a letter. And hopefully a pigeon would carry it through at some point. We have email nowadays. We don't even use fax. It's emails, it's text, it's WhatsApp. It's all. Why are we not able to resolve these claims now? So for us, it's not just the expertise, it's moving these cases through the system, applying pressure on the insurance company and telling them, we are coming for you on behalf of our clients. You're going to pay up.
Pocket employment lawyer, I want to mention that. We mention every show. Generally, we use that more on the employment law show with Lee or your partner, but there is a section of the Pocket Employment Lawyer website, pocketemploymentlawyer.ca, which deals with long-term disability. In what way?
Well, we find that many people who have issues with their employers also have issues with their long-term disability insurance companies and vice versa, right? People who are disabled are let go from their jobs, etc. People have questions. Oftentimes, John, they don't want to call us. I don't know, we're nice guys, we're easygoing guys, but people feel comfortable Googling, for the answer. The problem with Google is that you're going to get American websites websites from other provinces, and even websites of lawyers who don't necessarily know what they're talking about, their errors. And so we created this online website, Pocket Employment Lawyer, to deal with not just employment issues, but long-term disability issues, because those two areas are interlinked in many ways. And so if you go to that website, it's free, it's anonymous, it's quick. You input a few key pieces of information about your case without any identifying data, no name, no phone number, nothing. And you will get a customized answer that will give you exactly the information that you need. And if at that point you want to get in touch with us, you click the button to get in touch with us. Right. If not, close the browser. We will not know that you were there. But it's been used thousands of times, John, across the country. Again, free, anonymous, quick, and accurate.
Let's get to an email before we break. help@disabilityrights.ca. First email for the day comes from Charlene. Says, I've been receiving short-term disability for ongoing depression and panic attacks. My doctor believes I'm still not ready to return to work after several months. If I apply for LTD, is an approval automatic?
No, Charlene, it's not automatic. These things are never automatic, and this is important to understand. You may think you have the best reason in the world to be on long-term disability or short-term disability, and your doctors may agree with you. The insurance company may not. It could be because they don't understand the medical documentation. It could be because they're just ignoring what your doctors are saying. It could be for a whole slew of reasons. Maybe there's a technical denial. They're saying you didn't apply in time, which again, we can get around that in many instances. So no, absolutely not. It's not automatic. What you need to understand is that you can hope for the best, and there are ways to improve the chances of you getting short-term or long-term disability. But if you're denied, that's not the end of the analysis, okay? Really important to understand. The fact that you were denied does not mean that you're not entitled to those benefits. And in fact, that's the majority of our work, is correcting those mistakes, correcting those denials that insurance companies just issue out like food stamps. We can help you analyze that, and we do that very quickly because we understand this, we know this stuff. All we do is we look at the denial letter, we look at the medical documentation, maybe the policy if you have it, and we can tell you on the phone within a matter of minutes whether or not the insurance company is correct in rejecting your claim. And then if they are incorrect, if they're wrong, we can tell you what your options are. Here's the menu of options. Choose. Mm-hmm. If you don't want to do anything, by all means, don't do anything, but at least you'll know what your menu of options are, and you will feel in control. You will feel empowered.
It's not the denial that's the scary part. It's once you've been on and they cut you off and then you're asked to appeal and appeal. That's the part that really gives you the headache, right?
It gives you the headache, and it's very concerning for people. And not only that, not only when you're cut off, but when you're told, if you don't comply, if you don't do X, we will cut you off. People don't know what to do. They feel that there is a power imbalance. That power imbalance exists because you don't have the knowledge to counter that power imbalance. Insurance companies operate on the idea that they are, it's like the big bad wolf, right? I mean, they have all the strength. They're a billion-dollar entity. They have all these lawyers. Guess what? They don't want to spend their money on lawyers. They don't want to spend their money fighting people who stand up for their rights. Instead, what they would rather do is issue as many of these denials, threaten as many people as possible, reject as many claims as possible, and hope that the numbers stack up against, in their favor, meaning that most people will simply just take it and leave.
Yeah.
If you stand up for your rights, if you are that squeaky wheel, if you contact us and we represent you, you're going to get paid.
Can you apply for LTD if you're diagnosed with fibromyalgia? That is the topic we will tackle on the other side of the break. In the meantime, here's that number, 1-855-821-5900, help@disabilityrights.ca. More of the Disability Law Show is coming right up. Stick around.
People think you have to sign back a severance offer by a deadline. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Deadlines are used as a pressure tactic. Make sure the offer is fair before you sign. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca. Can insurance companies deny long-term disability claims for mental illness?
When you're suffering from a mental health disability, insurance companies just don't understand. But we do.
They can absolutely not force you back to work. If your doctors say you are not ready and you know you're not ready, they cannot make you go back to work.
If you have a mental health disability and your claim is denied, don't give up. Give us a call and let us fight for you.
Go to disabilityrights.ca. Discover your rights, fight back, and get what you're owed. People think you aren't owed severance pay if you are fired for a reason. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Most for-cause terminations are false, and you are still owed full severance. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca.
All righty, welcome back to the Disability Law Show. John Scholes, Sivan Tumarkin there, of course, reaching out anytime to Sivan and his team. You're asked to do so. Just have a chat, get some information at least, right? 1-855-821-5900, help at disabilityrights.ca or simply disabilityrights.ca. The website, as mentioned, our topic for today is applying for LTD because of fibromyalgia. Let's get into this. Number one, fibromyalgia can be difficult to diagnose and is often viewed skeptically by insurance companies. What about that?
That's absolutely correct, John. And I can tell you, fibromyalgia is something that insurance companies, they don't like it. They don't like it because it's a diagnosis that, first of all, is oftentimes confused with chronic pain. It's often confused with kind of a name for something to the exclusion of everything else. And I can tell you, I had printed, in anticipation of talking about this, something here from the American College of Rheumatologists, where they're specifically saying, here's how fibromyalgia is diagnosed. It's based on symptoms. Doctors may require that you have a tenderness or pressure or tender points at specific number of certain spots before saying you have fibromyalgia. They're looking at certain symptoms. They check out 19 parts of your body to see if you've had pain there over the last week. They want to know if you've had fatigue, walking, unrefreshed, cognitive issues, things like that. I have a friend who's a chronic pain doctor that I know very well, and he's very good at diagnosing these things or excluding them. He is also very good at treating fibromyalgia. And I can tell you, insurance companies oftentimes treat this condition in a manner that I think is disrespectful and in a manner that is just inappropriate and incorrect, medically unsound. If you have fibromyalgia, if you have chronic pain, if you have any of those kinds of things where it doesn't necessarily show up on an X-ray or an MRI, you may still be debilitated, and that's going to affect your psyche as well. You may be depressed, you may be anxious. There is a whole host of symptoms that when you have them, when they present, can be diagnosed to be fibromyalgia. And it's really important to understand that if you have that condition, and you're unable to perform the essential tasks of your own occupation, you will qualify or should qualify for long-term disability. And if the insurance company says no, we can help you with that. Because if you cannot work because of this condition, the insurance company has no leg to stand on. They cannot say it's not a valid condition for the purposes of LTD coverage.
Number two is this: it is vital to seek appropriate treatment from your doctors and specialists, right?
Absolutely, and that applies across the board. Fibromyalgia is no exception here, right? If your doctor, your chronic pain doctor, or your family doctor, or whoever it is, your rheumatologist, whoever it is that's treating you, if they're telling you you have to take these medications or those medications, if they're telling you you have to do these exercises or those exercises, you need to follow recommendations from your doctors. And the reason for that, there's two reasons really. Number one, from a medical standpoint, you want to get better. So unless there is a really good reason for you not to follow those recommendations by your treating doctors, you should, number one. Number two, from a legal standpoint, there is an obligation that you have under your LTD policy and in common law, under our laws in Canada, to mitigate your condition. You cannot simply say, I am sick, but I refuse to do anything about it. The law is not sympathetic to that. And insurance policies are not sympathetic to that. In fact, there is a provision, I guarantee you, in your LTD policy that says that to get LTD and to continue qualifying for LTD, you must undergo reasonable treatments or be engaged in them, right? It makes sense, but you have no idea, John, how many times people tell me, but I don't want to do it, the medications don't make me feel good, etc. Okay, well then speak with your doctors about alternate treatments. Yeah. You need those doctors ultimately to say in a report to the insurance company that you are following recommendations. If they don't say that, legally speaking, you may have problems with your LTD coverage.
Talk about applying for LTD if you suffer from fibromyalgia. Number three is this: insurance adjusters often deny fibromyalgia claims based on insufficient documentation and the lack of medical support, right?
And this is something that I have seen time and time again, and that's why I mentioned my friend, the chronic pain doctor, because there are doctors who don't know how to diagnose fibromyalgia. There are doctors who it's not within their wheelhouse. And frankly, there are doctors who don't know how to articulate properly not just the symptoms or the diagnosis, but just generally speaking, how from a functional standpoint it impacts you, why you cannot work because of the various symptoms. Look, if you're fatigued, if you're depressed, if you're anxious, if you're in pain all over, and that prevents you from working, the doctor needs to say that, needs to explain that. And yes, there is subjectivity there because you're the one reporting these symptoms. But again, there are ways to diagnose fibromyalgia. It's not a diagnosis for the exclusion of all others. It's not like we don't know what's wrong with you, so therefore we're going to just pin this diagnosis on you. It doesn't work that way. You need to get a referral, in my view, to a specialist. Generally, I would say to a chronic pain doctor, but again, go to your family doctor, go to a walk-in clinic, go to the emergency room, go to wherever you need to go to if you are experiencing these kinds of symptoms and they're very severe. You need to make sure that the insurance company has a documentation that they need. Now, many times people will submit all the necessary documentation, all the reports, everything from their doctors, and insurance companies are still going to say insufficient medical documentation. Bull. I have seen those cases. I have reviewed those kinds of cases. I've seen those medical documents, and I can tell you, there's a very big difference between you as an individual submitting those documents to the insurance company and the insurance company choosing to ignore them or trying to gaslight you by saying, oh, but it doesn't say what you say it says, and me presenting those documents to the insurance company saying, really? It's not saying that? How about we see what a judge says? And then they back away. They back off very fast. And again, that's one of the reasons why when we are giving this kind of advice and when we're explaining what needs to be in these letters, and we tell people, go to our website because it has information, even for doctors. Here's how you write a report. Here's the information you need to include in there. Oftentimes, it's about presenting the information in a certain way, a digestible way to the insurance company. But even in those cases, many insurance companies, again, remember, we talked about this, they will reject claims. Not because you don't have sufficient support, but because they are taking the chance that, they'll shake you off claim.
Anything.
Exactly.
Yeah. We'll take a short break and get back to more mydisabilityquestions.com. That is another website where you can freely and anonymously ask questions. Mydisabilityquestions.com. That is where we're going after the break. More of the Disability Law Show coming right up.
People think you should go to the government to get severance pay. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Government can only help you get minimum severance, but not everything you're entitled to. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca. If your long-term disability claim is denied, should you appeal?
Appeals often fail because insurance companies control the process. So long as you appeal, you're playing by their rules.
You should never appeal the denial of your disability benefits. Appeals are just a mirage of false hope.
Don't. That's their process. Take it out of their hands and fight for your rights with our help.
Go to disabilityrights.ca. Discover your rights, fight back, and get what you're owed. People think their employer can make changes to their job. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Your employer can't change your pay, hours, or duties. You may be entitled to full severance pay. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca.
Okay, we're back. Disability Law Show. Thank you so much for sticking around. I mentioned just before the break another website you can go to freely and anonymously to ask questions for Sivan and his team, mydisabilityquestions.com. Take that for a spin and you'll get an answer pretty quickly. It's also got a searchable database. That's how the algorithm is written. So a question like yours may already be in there and have been answered. So that'll save you some time. Julian is up now. Sivan says, I suffer from rheumatoid arthritis and was approved for LTD last year. A few months ago, my insurer sent me for an assessment and their doctor recommended a different treatment regimen. After speaking to my own medical team, I was told this new treatment is unlikely to be effective and could cause additional health concerns. After my refusal, the insurer cut off my benefits. What do I do?
Well, first of all, Julian, you did the right thing by following your doctor's own advice. And that's the number one thing that I'm going to tell people here. Follow whatever your own treating doctors are saying. However, John, as much as I think that the insurance company was wrong here, I would like to understand what he told the insurance company when they told him this is what you need to do, this is what our doctor is saying. And the reason for that is because words matter, especially when you're dealing with insurance companies, with lawyers. Unfortunately, that's just the reality of it. Words matter. So if Julian went back to the adjuster that's handling his claim and said, I'm refusing those treatments, just like that, I can see why the insurance company would say, okay, well, then you're in breach of the policy terms because you have an obligation to undergo reasonable treatments. That's very different than if Julian gets a letter from his doctor or doctors that says, in our medical opinion, Julian should not be undergoing those other treatments recommended by this and so, so-and-so assessor because, and then provide the reasons. And then when Julian provides that to his adjuster via email, he says, I'm going to be following my own doctor's recommendations here. And this is what they're saying. And so therefore, in other words, he doesn't say I'm refusing. He says, I'm going to follow their recommendation. Use whatever your doctors are saying. Use their letters, their opinions as a shield from the insurance company. It's very different than saying I'm just refusing outright. a blanket refusal to just do anything. The effect is essentially the same, right? He's not going to undergo those treatments. But how you frame it to the insurance company is very, very different. Now, if Julian did anything close to what I've just said on how this should be communicated, I can tell you the insurance company is 100% wrong here. By the way, they're wrong anyways because he did exactly what he was supposed to, but it's how you articulate that. So Julian, we can help you here. It's either a situation where I communicate with the insurance company and explain to them what your doctors have said, if you haven't done that, and give them one last chance of reinstating you and putting you back on LTD, or if they're going to refuse that, we're going to hit them with a legal claim. I'll take care of it. You're not going to have to deal with that. That's the one thing to remember here. Yeah. When we get involved, we are dealing with the insurance company. Our clients no longer have to speak with the adjuster. Our clients no longer have to field any phone calls, emails, nothing. Everything must go through us. Insurance companies know that. Once we are retained, once we are representing a person, we are the ones communicating 100% of the time, so people have the ability to then focus on their health. And I tell you, John, oftentimes when I speak with people who are dealing with insurance companies, that's the one thing that they hear above all else. You're telling me that I don't have to speak with the adjuster anymore?
Silence. Yeah.
Silence? I mean, I can finally get better. I don't have to deal with this obnoxious adjuster. Because it is anxiety-inducing, creates depression, it creates a lot of things. So yeah, Julian, I can probably help you here without even knowing more information. To me, it makes complete sense why your doctors are saying what they're saying. But I want to understand more about what happened in terms of the communication between you and the insurance company. But I can help you resolve this claim.
Let's grab a quick email from Alex in the last couple of minutes here. It says, I work in the manufacturing industry and have been off work for a year after a back injury. I originally applied for LTD, but was denied by the insurance company. I just sent in my second appeal, but I'm worried I will be denied again. My doctor still says I'm not ready to return to work. Do I have any other options?
Yes, 100%. And in fact, the fact that you've already appealed, that tells us, again, this is what happens oftentimes. You appeal these decisions, you get rejected over and over and over. The insurance company is just sitting back laughing. Look, if you are unable to work, the insurance company must pay you LTD so long as you qualify under the policy, so long as you have your doctor's support, so long as, in fact, you cannot perform the essential tasks of your occupation for the first 2 years, which is really what we're dealing with here. I mean, there was a back injury, etc. Other options. People want to understand, okay, so if I'm not appealing, what am I doing? I'll tell you what you're doing. You're starting a legal process, or more correctly, we are starting a legal process on your behalf. Now, this may sound scary, but it's not. It's not. It's not what you see on TV. People watch TV, they watch Suits, they watch whatever other shows you think,
locked up in a courtroom.
I'm going to go to courtroom. Yeah. No, it doesn't work like that. No. Insurance companies do not want to go to court. It's too expensive for them. I'm telling you as somebody who used to work for insurance companies. The insurance companies I would work for would, audit my bills all the time. Why did you spend this much time on this? When are you going to settle this file? That's the dirty little secret for insurance companies. They are ready to pay your claim as long as you stand up and fight for it, as long as you have the right lawyers. They do not want to hire their own lawyers, whether they're in-house lawyers or external lawyers. They are bleeding money when they do that. So what is the best option here? Start a legal claim. I can tell you, the best advice here is show them that you're serious. And by the way, when you start the legal process, they know that if in fact they don't resolve it equitably and they don't pay you what you're owed, they're going to end up before a judge. Again, this is why in 99.9% of these cases, they never ever go to court. It's just the reality of these kinds of cases. And every lawyer in this industry will tell you the same thing. It is an extremely rare thing. So again, legal process, do not appeal, certainly not before speaking with us about your options.
Does he have to wait for that second appeal to come back? Another denial? Just get on it.
We can help right now.
Beautiful.
Right now.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Alex, appreciate that email. You can send yours along as well. You'll want to reach out to Sivan and crew anytime now that we're done for this week. Anyway, 1-855-821-5900. That email address is help@disabilityrights.ca. And we did mention as well, disabilityrights.ca, the firm website. You can go there anytime. Lots of information. Catch our TV show, old episodes, our radio show across the country as well. So feel free to reach out anytime. Again, 1-855-821-5900. We will catch you next week, once again, right here on the Disability Law Show. Thanks for watching.